Okay, I wanted to share what I'm doing with you guys. It's been a while since I posted some stuff. Have been working, just haven't been posting. Let me actually back it up a little bit. So you're looking at the passenger side window frame. You can see now I've got these areas filled in with aluminum on both the front and rear. Right here, this piece that's filled in doesn't drop down very far. It just needs to drop down below the top of the door because I'm building the top of the door up for a outer door seal. And same way here on the inside. On the inside, and hopefully you can see this. I'll try to zoom in here for you. The light's not the greatest. So on the inside, this piece needs to drop down quite a bit further. So it's dropped clear down to here. For reference, here's the top of the door. It's dropping down to here. And why that's important is I'm going to put another piece of aluminum which will attach to this piece but be flush. It'll come down and pick up this area of the door, creating a sealing surface for the bulb seal to ride against. And then on the back side, that's the front side, on the back side, so on the back side, again, top of door is right here. So this piece is kind of a goofy looking pie shape that, you know, the parting line would come down to here and follow the track and then comes over. And then from this point, it tapers in and picks the door up. So the bulb seal will come down this area, travel down here, and then pick up the door panel to come down. And when I get it all painted and everything, I might just take and dab a little bit of like clear sealer or something right here just to kind of smooth this transition out. It's not very big, it's just a little 1/8 inch, or maybe I'll put a little foam pad there or something. Anyway, so that takes care of that. When I was welding these pieces in, and this is 1/8 inch aluminum, just like this U-channel is 1/8 inch. On some of them, as I was welding, they pulled in a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit, so when I ground it, you know, you've got a little divot there. So what I'm going to do is I'll smooth all this out with body filler, and that, you know, and then sand it so it's a nice smooth surface. You won't be able to see it. Same way on the outside of the car, I'll do the same thing there. If there's any little issues, I'll smooth those out. Let me put this back, but one of the things that I did want to show you, so when the window goes up on this, the little rubber U-channels that are pinching the window to carry them up come just about flush with the top of the door. And I found this seal, kind of show the end profile of it, and then it's got this nice stainless top. So this seal will go in there, but because there's stainless in here, it's really hard to try to curve it like this, and I don't want to do that. And I need to have this seal up a little bit higher. So it's about 1/4 inch in the back up from the original door surface, and about 1/2 inch in the front. It's about 3/4 inch here. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of aluminum, which I can show you, and this piece of aluminum, get a piece, used to be some fairly wide U-channel. I believe this is 1/8 inch by 1 inch. Make sure you can see what I'm showing you. So it's, I believe, 1 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick, and it's about 1/2 inch tall. So what I did, I've got some extra of this, so I took this stuff and I shaved it down. You know, it started out this, I shaved this down with the mill, And this is just a little over an 1/8 inch, maybe about 3/16 of an inch tall on the from here to here. And then I shaved the other side off completely, so it's kind of like an L. And this piece will, I temporarily bond this to my window frame with, I put shims in there so it's tight to the door. And that creates kind of a mold for this high strength repair filler to fill up against. And it creates a nice little shelf on the top. And then I'm bonding the piece that I cut off from here. You can see it's just a tiny little piece of 1/8 inch aluminum, and it's probably a little less than a 1/4 inch wide. This gets, I take a glue gun and I temporarily bond it on the outer edge, and that gives me a nice clean line, you know, at the top of it and at the bottom, and then it's an angle. So it kind of, when it's finished, that buildup will kind of look like a trim piece, because I'm going to paint that riser, I'm going to paint that separate, so it'll look, so it'll be like a black satin. And then I'll use striping tape, and I'll separate, you know, whatever color I decide to paint it. I'm thinking blue. It'll be blue down, but it'll be a separation line, so it'll almost look like a trim piece sitting on there. It should look pretty nice. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. The other thing that I wanted to show you is the gap from here to the top, to the door panel, is about 5/16 of an inch, or 8 millimeter on both the front and the back. So I had to trim quite a bit, and I think I've showed you in other videos that I've trimmed a lot out of this, and I'm ending up having to glue, mix up like peanut butter, or I can use the high strength repair filler, and what's left of the inner skin I'm having to re-glue like up underneath to kind of reattach this, which is fine. So that takes care of that. Now let me come over to the driver's side of the car. And here you can see that I've already got this part. This is done now. Not completely, and this is that high strength repair filler, 3M. And what I did is the top of the door, I sanded it with 36 grit, and I actually sanded right through the gel coat because I really wanted this to bond good, because this is pretty thick, and you don't want this to pop loose obviously after it's all painted and everything. What I was going to do is I was going to use this 1/4 round, and this is like PVC, and I was going to try to bond this instead, but I kind of decided this wasn't going to work out really good because it would follow the body line and tip up. And like I said, I need this top edge to be nice and flat. So you can see by doing what I did, I've got a nice crisp line up at the top. I've got about an 1/8 inch step up right here, so that'll be a nice crisp break line on the paint. It'll be blue, so I'll probably paint the blue on, or I'll paint this black first, and then I'll tape this line off and then spray the blue or whatever color I decide to paint, and that'll look just like a trim piece when I get done. Right now it's a little bit rough, and I've got to finish it with body filler, and there's a couple little spots where I didn't get the high strength repair filler packed all the way in the mold, so I'll have to just touch all that up with body filler. I'll have to touch this up to smooth it out nice. But I've got a nice rigid piece that I've basically molded into the top of the door. You can see how it almost fades away to nothing at the back, because the back of the door really raises quite a bit. And I'll feather this edge, and when I put this piece on, which you can kind of see what it looks like with this end, and this obviously still has to be trimmed to length, but you know, that creates that nice surface here for this to sit on. And then what I'll use is little flush mounting wood screws. I'll screw through the inside of this rubber seal and into this area, probably in the middle. On the ends, it actually will be screwing into the original door. And they'll be short screws, so you know they won't punch through. But that gives you an idea of what I needed to do to get this up so that it's at the right height and that the window regulator doesn't bump into it. And then at the front, maybe zoom in just a little more so you can see. At the front, obviously this has to be trimmed back. Let me take this back out for a minute so you can see a little bit better. But I'm going to feather this back a little more so it'll be, you know, at the door line, it'll keep that door gap. But at the top edge, I'm going to feather it back a little more so it makes it, you know, so it's not such an abrupt as the air's coming across here. There's not a lot I can do with that, but I'll feather this back a little more, and then when I put the seal on, I'll stop the chrome where the top edge is feathered back too, so it'll be nice and clean, and I think it's going to look really good. It's, you know, there wasn't much else I could do. It was kind of down to this. I needed something like this. I thought about trying to make this piece and then bond it on, and you know the door shape is so kind of crazy to try to make that. So I'm like, you know what, I'll create a form and I'll mold this in here and it should be good, and that's attached good, so it should be all set. You can also see that, back it up a little more. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it looks really bad visually because this piece kind of tucked in as I was welding it. But you know, when you see it in person, it looks bad because it's shadowing, but it's not sunken in that far. But anyway, I will finish all this off with body filler, and you can see the back's a little smoother. Back up a little more for you. The back, you know, after I welded the front and saw that the aluminum was pulling out, I was a little more careful. I tacked it in more spots so that the aluminum didn't want to move around as much, and then ground it flush. So it's coming along pretty good. Also on the aluminum, you know, I had it just welded on the outside. I had to go to a really small tungsten, and I was able to TIG weld the inside of the seam a little bit. I couldn't get crazy with it, but I felt better by welding on both sides of it. Aluminum is a lot different than steel. Any of you watching that have TIG welded aluminum know that you know, when you're TIG welding on the top of the piece and there's still oxygen on the bottom because you're not totally engulfed in argon, the aluminum doesn't really want to pull together. It acts different than steel. Steel, when you got two pieces, you get them hot, they want to puddle right together. And aluminum doesn't really do that. So when I did these seams, I V'd them down quite a bit, so they're like paper thin almost on the inside edge. So when I welded it, I got really good penetration, but knowing that I was going to grind this smooth, I wanted to get some weld on the inside so I felt like there's no chance of cracking later on. And the nice part about it is this seam right here and this seam, and this seam are the only two that aren't really supported by gussets. So the seams here, you know, they're all gusseted in now, so there's really no chance of having cracking in this area. But these made me a little nervous, so that's why I welded them on the inside too and then ground it back smooth. I also did that on these too, but wasn't as concerned because of all the gusseting. So anyway, that's an update to what I'm doing. I wanted to share that with you guys. I'm getting ready to do the mold on the other side and get it set up and then fill it so it looks like this side. And then I can start doing the finishing touches, because this is it's a little bit wavy, but I wanted to get the bulk of the dimensions done with the high strength repair filler, so that it's really tough, and then, you know, any little imperfections I can finish off with Rage Gold, and it sands a lot smoother, and I can get this detailed really nice. So that's about it.